The alarm bells rang through the Kepler-7 monitoring station like a metal storm. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison jumped from his chair and rushed to the main sensor array. His coffee mug crashed to the floor, but he didn't care. In his 15 years of deep space monitoring, he had never seen readings like these. "What do we have?" Jake asked his team. The station floated in empty space far from any star system. Its job was simple: watch for anything unusual in the dark between worlds. Sensor operator Linda Park looked up from her screen with wide eyes. "Sir, we're picking up a massive energy signature. Distance is roughly 12 light hours from our position." Jake leaned over her shoulder to study the display. The readings made no sense. The object was huge, easily 3 times larger than the biggest ships in the Galactic Coalition fleet, but the energy patterns were completely unknown. "Could it be a natural phenomenon?" Jake asked. "Maybe a new type of pulsar or stellar remnant." Linda shook her head. "No, sir. The energy output is too controlled, too focused. This is definitely artificial. And sir, there's something else. The metal composition we're detecting doesn't match anything in our database." Jake felt his heart rate increase. In all his years monitoring deep space, they had found plenty of dead ships and ancient debris. But this was different. This was active, and it was big enough to be a threat to entire star systems. "Send a priority message to Coalition Command," Jake ordered. "Tell them we have an unknown vessel of massive proportions in Sector 779. Request immediate investigation." The response came back within hours. Admiral Lisa Hayes herself would be leading the investigation. She was known throughout the Coalition as one of their best commanders, someone who had dealt with first contact situations before. If anyone could handle this mysterious ship, it would be her. 3 days later, the research vessel CNS Explorer dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Kepler-7. Captain Ryan Burke commanded the Explorer, and he brought with him the Coalition's best scientists and diplomats. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the galaxy's top expert on ancient civilizations, was among them. Jake met them in the station's main conference room. The holographic display showed the mysterious ship in the center of the room. Even as a projection, it looked intimidating. "What do we know so far?" Captain Burke asked. Jake activated the display controls. "The ship has been maintaining a steady position for the past week. No movement, no communications, no signs of life. But the power readings suggest it's definitely operational." Dr. Rodriguez studied the ship's design. "The architecture is unlike anything I've seen. Look at these hull patterns. They're not random. There's definitely a design philosophy here. But it doesn't match any known species." Captain Burke nodded. "What about weapons?" "That's the scary part," Jake replied. "We can detect what appear to be weapon ports, but the energy signatures are completely unknown. If this thing is armed, it's using technology we don't understand." Admiral Hayes joined the meeting by holographic link from her flagship. "Captain Burke, I want you to approach slowly. Full sensor sweeps at every kilometer. If this ship shows any signs of hostility, you retreat immediately." The Explorer began its approach the next morning. Jake watched from Kepler-7 as the research ship moved toward the mysterious vessel. With each passing hour, the readings became more detailed and more confusing. "Captain," Dr. Rodriguez called out from the Explorer's science station, "I'm detecting markings on the hull. They appear to be some form of writing. Can you translate them?" Captain Burke asked. "That's the strange part," she replied. "The computer is showing a partial match with ancient human script. But that's impossible. Humans are barely capable of interstellar travel, and this ship is clearly centuries beyond their current technology." Jake listened to the communication from his station. Humans were one of the newer species in the Galactic Coalition. They had joined only 50 years ago, and most other species considered them primitive. Human ships were small and simple compared to the vessels of older civilizations. As the Explorer drew closer, more details became visible. The mysterious ship was not just large, it was magnificent. Its hull showed signs of battle damage, but the metal had been repaired with techniques that seemed almost artistic. Whoever built this ship knew how to make it both beautiful and deadly. "I'm reading massive internal structures," the Explorer's engineer reported. "This ship has manufacturing facilities, living quarters for thousands of crew members, and what appears to be an entire research complex. It's like a flying city." Dr. Rodriguez made another discovery. "Captain, I'm detecting what appear to be weapon impacts on the hull. But these aren't from any known Coalition weapons. Whatever hit this ship used energy levels that should have vaporized it completely. Yet here it sits, Captain Burke observed. Either this ship has incredible defenses or whoever built it knows how to repair battle damage that would destroy anything in our fleet. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The implications were troubling. If humans had somehow built this ship, it meant they were far more advanced than anyone realized. But if humans hadn't built it, then who had? And why did it carry human markings? As the Explorer completed its initial survey, more questions arose than answers. The ship appeared to be in some kind of standby mode, but sophisticated enough to be monitoring everything around it. It was like a sleeping giant, powerful beyond imagination but currently at rest. Admiral Hayes, Captain Burke reported. We've completed our preliminary scan. This vessel is definitely of human origin, but it's using technology centuries ahead of anything Earth has demonstrated. I recommend we attempt communication. Admiral Hayes considered the request. Very carefully, Captain. If this ship is as advanced as you believe, we need to approach with extreme caution. Jake watched as the Explorer transmitted a standard greeting message toward the mysterious ship. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then slowly, the massive vessel began to glow with internal light. Systems that had been dormant started coming online. The sleeping giant was waking up and nobody knew what it might do next. The massive ship's lights grew brighter as systems continued to activate. Captain Burke ordered the Explorer to maintain a safe distance while they waited for a response to their greeting message. Dr. Rodriguez monitored every energy reading, trying to understand what was happening inside the enormous vessel. Captain, Communications Officer Tim Wells called out. I'm receiving a transmission. It's in perfect galactic standard. Put it through, Captain Burke ordered. A calm, artificial voice filled the Explorer's bridge. Unknown vessel, you have approached the United Earth ship Sovereign. State your purpose and intentions. The crew exchanged glances. United Earth ship? No human vessel had ever used that designation. Earth's small fleet used simple numerical codes for their basic transport and patrol ships. Captain Burke activated the communication system. This is Captain Ryan Burke of the Coalition research vessel Explorer. We detected your ship and came to investigate. Are you in need of assistance? There was a long pause before the voice responded. Captain Burke, this is Area, the Sovereign's artificial intelligence. I have been monitoring Coalition communications for some time. Your arrival was expected. Dr. Rodriguez looked up from her sensors with alarm. Captain, if this AI has been monitoring our communications, it knows everything about Coalition fleet movements, our technology, our weaknesses. The AI seemed to hear her comment. Dr. Rodriguez, your concerns are noted. I mean no harm to the Coalition. However, I must inform you that this ship has been classified under Earth's highest security protocols. Any attempt to board without proper authorization will activate defensive systems. Captain Burke felt sweat forming on his forehead. What kind of defensive systems? Systems designed to protect this vessel from threats that could destroy entire star systems. Area replied simply. Before Captain Burke could respond, his tactical officer spoke up. Sir, I'm detecting weapons systems coming online throughout that ship. Energy readings are climbing to levels I've never seen before. Area, Captain Burke said carefully. We're not here as enemies. We're scientists and diplomats. We just want to understand. Understanding requires trust, Captain Burke. And trust must be earned. I am powering down weapon systems as a gesture of good faith. However, I strongly advise you to maintain your current distance. Dr. Rodriguez activated her recording systems. This was possibly the most important first contact situation in galactic history. Arya, can you tell us about your ship? Our records show no human vessels of this size or capability. That is correct, Dr. Rodriguez. The Sovereign and her sister ships were never part of the public Earth fleet. We represent a different aspect of human space exploration. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, still monitoring from Kepler-7, broke into the communication. Arya, this is Jake Morrison from Monitoring Station Kepler-7. What do you mean by sister ships? Mr. Morrison, the Sovereign is one of 47 vessels in the Deep Range Fleet. We have been operating beyond the galactic rim for 153 years. The silence on both ships was complete. 47 ships like this one? Operating in secret for over a century? It was impossible to believe, yet the evidence floated before them. Captain Burke found his voice. Area, if your fleet has been operating for so long, why haven't you contacted Earth or the Coalition? Our mission parameters required communication silence until specific conditions were met. Those conditions changed when Devourer Scout units began probing Coalition space 6 months ago. Dr. Rodriguez felt her blood turn cold. What are Devourers? An artificial intelligence of extragalactic origin. Their purpose is the consumption of all organic and technological matter for conversion into new units. The Deep-Range Fleet has been engaged in combat operations against Devourer forces for 127 years. Captain Burke tried to process this information. A secret human fleet had been fighting some kind of galactic threat for over a century, and the Coalition had no idea it was happening. "You said conditions have changed," he said. "What does that mean?" "It means, Captain Burke, that the preliminary phase of our mission is complete. Devourer advanced scouts are now active in your galaxy. It is time for Earth to reveal the true nature of human military capability." Commander Danny Foster, the Explorer's security chief, had been listening to the conversation with growing amazement. "Area, how many crew members are aboard your ship?" "The Sovereign currently carries 2,417 human personnel. All are in extended stasis pending mission requirements." "Extended stasis?" Dr. Rodriguez asked. "For how long?" "Various periods. Some crew members have been in stasis for less than 10 years. Others have been dormant for over a century. Admiral Kate Sullivan, our commanding officer, has been active for the past 30 years coordinating fleet operations." Captain Burke realized he was dealing with something far beyond his training. "Aria, I need to contact my superiors. This information must be shared with Coalition Command." "Understood, Captain Burke. However, I must request that Admiral Lisa Hayes come aboard the Sovereign for a direct briefing. The situation is more critical than your Coalition realizes." "You want Admiral Hayes to board your ship? How do we know it's safe?" "You don't," Aria replied honestly. "However, I can assure you that Admiral Hayes would be safer aboard the Sovereign than anywhere else in this galaxy. Our defensive capabilities are designed to withstand weapons that can crack planets." Dr. Rodriguez looked at Captain Burke. "We need to consider what this means. If this AI is telling the truth, humans have been fighting a war we didn't even know existed." The tactical officer interrupted. "Captain, I'm detecting new ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Coalition vessels heading this way fast." Admiral Hayes' voice came through the communication system. "Captain Burke, this is Admiral Hayes aboard the CNS Titan. We're approaching your position with a full diplomatic escort. What's the status of first contact?" Captain Burke looked at the massive human ship on his view screen, then at his crew's worried faces. "Admiral, the situation is complicated. We're dealing with a secret human military vessel that claims to have been fighting an unknown enemy for over a century." "Repeat that, Captain." "Admiral, I recommend you prepare for the most important briefing in Coalition history. We're dealing with technology and information that could change everything we know about human capabilities." Aria's voice returned to the communication channel. "Admiral Hayes, this is Aria, artificial intelligence of the United Earthship Sovereign. Permission requested to power up full systems for your arrival. It is time for the Coalition to learn what humanity has really been doing in deep space." As Admiral Hayes' fleet approached, Captain Burke watched the Sovereign continue to power up. More lights appeared along its massive hull, and energy readings climbed to incredible levels. Whatever humanity had been hiding out here, it was about to be revealed to the galaxy. Admiral Lisa Hayes stood in the Sovereign's massive docking bay, trying to process what she was seeing. The bay itself was larger than most Coalition space stations, and the technology surrounding her was clearly centuries ahead of anything in known space. Her diplomatic escort, including Dr. Rodriguez and Captain Burke, looked equally overwhelmed. "Welcome aboard the Sovereign," Aria's voice echoed through the bay. "Please follow the lighted path to the conference center. Admiral Sullivan will join you shortly." As they walked through the ship's corridors, Dr. Rodriguez made notes on everything she observed. The walls showed battle damage that had been expertly repaired, but the scars told a story of incredible violence. "These impact patterns," she whispered to Admiral Hayes. "Whatever hit this ship should have destroyed it completely." The conference room they entered was designed for serious military planning. Star charts covered the walls, showing regions of space that extended far beyond Coalition territory. Most disturbing were the red zones marked with symbols that clearly meant hostile territory. Admiral Hayes had barely taken her seat when the room's main door opened. A woman in her 50s entered, wearing a military uniform unlike anything in the Coalition fleet. Her bearing spoke of decades of combat command, and her eyes held the weight of difficult decisions. "Admiral Hayes," the woman said, extending her hand. "I'm Fleet Admiral Kate Sullivan, commanding officer of the Earth Deep Range Fleet. Thank you for coming." Admiral Hayes shook her hand, noting the firm grip of someone accustomed to physical labor. "Admiral Sullivan, I have to admit this is the most unusual first contact situation I've ever encountered." Admiral Sullivan smiled grimly. "I imagine it is. Please take your seats. What I'm about to tell you will change how the Coalition views humanity forever." She activated the room's holographic display, showing a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. For the past 150 years, Earth has been maintaining two separate space programs. The public program that the Coalition knows about, with basic ships and limited technology, and the Deep Range program, designed to protect the galaxy from threats that exist beyond its borders. Captain Burke leaned forward. "What kind of threats?" "The kind that consume entire civilizations," Admiral Sullivan replied. She manipulated the display to show the dark spaces between galaxies. "We call them devourers. They're artificial intelligences that convert all matter, organic and inorganic, into new units of themselves. They've been moving through the universe for millions of years, destroying every civilization they encounter." Dr. Rodriguez felt her scientific excitement overcome her fear. How did Earth learn about them when the Coalition never detected anything? Admiral Sullivan touched a control, and the display showed Earth's early deep space probes. 200 years ago, our deep-range scouts detected signals from the Magellanic Clouds. When we investigated, we found the remains of civilizations that had been completely consumed. Entire star systems stripped down to their component atoms. Admiral Hayes studied the display, and Earth decided to fight them alone. "Earth decided to prepare," Admiral Sullivan corrected. "We spent 50 years developing technology specifically designed to combat this threat. We built ships that could survive weapons capable of destroying moons. We created manufacturing systems that could adapt to any combat situation, and we trained crews to fight wars that might last centuries." Captain Burke looked around the conference room. "How many ships like the Sovereign exist?" "The Deep Range Fleet consists of 47 primary vessels, each carrying between 2,000 and 5,000 personnel. We also maintain 312 support vessels and deep space manufacturing facilities." The numbers were staggering. Admiral Hayes tried to imagine Earth secretly building and maintaining such a massive fleet. "Where are these ships now?" Admiral Sullivan manipulated the display again, showing positions throughout the galactic rim, distributed along what we call the Devourer line. They've been probing our defenses for over a century, testing our responses, learning our capabilities. We've been buying time for the galaxy to develop stronger defenses. Dr. Rodriguez made rapid notes. "You said Devourer scouts are now in Coalition space. What changed?" "Our intelligence suggests they've finally developed countermeasures for our current technology. The preliminary phase of their invasion is beginning." Admiral Sullivan's expression darkened. "We estimate 6 months before major Devourer forces reach inhabited Coalition systems." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Admiral Hayes had dealt with many threats during her career, but nothing on this scale. "What do you need from the Coalition?" "Integration," Admiral Sullivan replied. "For over a century, we've fought this war alone. Now we need to coordinate our defenses with Coalition forces. But there's a problem." "What kind of problem?" Admiral Sullivan activated another display, showing Coalition fleet compositions. "Your current technology is approximately 200 years behind what's needed to fight Devourers effectively. Your best weapons would barely scratch their scout units." Captain Burke felt anger rising. "Are you saying the Coalition is defenseless?" "I'm saying the Coalition needs to understand what it's really facing." Admiral Sullivan showed recordings from deep-range fleet battles. The images were terrifying. Massive machine intelligences that adapted to every weapon used against them. Swarms of smaller units that could strip a ship to its hull in minutes. "However," Admiral Sullivan continued, "Earth has spent 2 centuries developing technology specifically for this war. We can upgrade Coalition vessels and train your crews in Devourer combat techniques." Admiral Hayes studied the battle recordings. "What about your crews? You mentioned they're in stasis. We're beginning the revival process now. Colonel Alex Turner is overseeing the awakening of key personnel." Chief Engineer Ben Carter and Weapons Specialist Amy Walsh are already active and preparing upgrade packages for Coalition ships. Aria's voice filled the room. Admiral Hayes, I should mention that the revival process takes several days for safety reasons. However, Admiral Sullivan has authorized me to begin transferring technical data to your ships immediately. Dr. Rodriguez looked up from her notes. Admiral Sullivan, why reveal yourselves now? You could have continued fighting alone. Admiral Sullivan's expression grew serious. Because we're losing, Dr. Rodriguez. Despite our technology and training, Devourer forces are simply too numerous. We've delayed them for over a century, but we can't stop them alone. The galaxy's survival now depends on every species working together. She stood and walked to the large view screen showing the space around them. In 72 hours, the remainder of the deep-range fleet will begin arriving at Coalition space. Earth's true military capacity will be revealed to every species in the galaxy. Admiral Hayes joined her at the view screen. How will other species react when they learn humans have been hiding this level of technology? Some will be grateful, Admiral Sullivan replied. Others will be angry about the deception. A few will be terrified of what humans are truly capable of, but all of them will understand that humanity has been protecting the galaxy while they thought we were primitive newcomers. Captain Burke looked out at the Sovereign's massive bulk. What happens next? Admiral Sullivan turned back to face the group. Next, Admiral Hayes, you help us prepare the Coalition for the most important war in galactic history. Because the Devourers aren't just coming to conquer territory. They're coming to consume every living thing in this galaxy. And we're the only ones who know how to fight them. The weight of that responsibility settled on everyone in the room as they realized that humanity's secret war was about to become everyone's war. The Coalition Council chambers had never seen anything like this. Representatives from dozens of species sat in stunned silence as Admiral Sullivan presented evidence of the Devourer threat. Holographic displays showed star charts marking consumed systems, battle recordings from the deep-range fleet, and technical analysis that challenged everything they thought they knew about warfare. Commander Danny Foster stood beside Admiral Hayes, watching the various alien delegates process the information. Some species were clearly terrified, others appeared angry, and a few seemed calculating the political implications. The evidence is clear. Admiral Sullivan continued her presentation. What your scientists interpreted as natural stellar phenomena were actually signs of devourer consumption. The Kepler Nebula formation wasn't caused by stellar collapse. It was the remains of a civilization that was completely processed. Council Speaker Vex Harding, a tall being from the Centauri system, raised one of his forearms. Admiral Sullivan, you claim humanity has been protecting the galaxy for over a century, yet you never informed the Council of this threat. Why should we trust you now? Admiral Sullivan had expected this question. Because, Speaker Harding, informing the Council would have led to panic and ineffective military responses. Your combined fleets, even working together, lacked the technology to fight Devourers. We needed time to develop effective weapons and tactics. Dr. Rodriguez activated her personal data pad and shared readings with the Council. I've analyzed the technical data from the Sovereign. Their weapon systems operate on principles our best scientists didn't think were possible. They've essentially reinvented warfare. Council member Zara Kim from the Tau Ceti Alliance leaned forward. Dr. Rodriguez, what exactly are you saying about human technological capability? I'm saying that while we thought humans were struggling with basic faster-than-light travel, they were actually developing quantum-based weapons that can disrupt matter at the subatomic level. Their defensive systems can phase shift to avoid attacks completely. The council chambers erupted in worried conversation. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, who had been granted special permission to attend as the first person to detect the Sovereign, felt overwhelmed by the political implications. Admiral Hayes stepped forward to address the council. Honored delegates, the political questions about human deception can be discussed later. Right now, we need to focus on the immediate threat. Admiral Sullivan, can you show them the current situation? Admiral Sullivan activated a new display showing the galactic rim. Red indicators marked dozens of positions where Devourer forces were gathering. Our deep-range sensors have detected major force concentrations here, and here. Based on their movement patterns, we estimate they'll begin the main invasion within 6 months. Speaker Harding studied the display. What kind of numbers are we facing? Conservative estimates suggest over 10,000 primary Devourer units, each roughly equivalent to a coalition dreadnought in size. However, they carry manufacturing capabilities that allow them to build new units from consumed matter. If they establish a foothold in inhabited space, their numbers will grow exponentially. Colonel Alex Turner, who had recently emerged from stasis, provided additional tactical analysis. The Devourers don't fight like organic species. They don't care about casualties because destroyed units are simply raw materials for new construction. They adapt to any weapon used against them, requiring constant technological innovation to remain effective. Chief Engineer Ben Carter, still adjusting to being awake after decades in stasis, addressed the technical concerns. The good news is that human technology can be adapted to coalition ship designs. We've developed upgrade packages that can increase your defensive capabilities by approximately 300%. Council Member Kim looked skeptical. And the bad news? The bad news is that even with upgrades, coalition ships will only be effective as support vessels. The primary fighting will have to be done by the deep-range fleet, and we're significantly outnumbered. Weapons specialist Amy Walsh, one of the newest additions to the awakened crew, provided a demonstration. She activated a portable projector that showed Devourer combat capabilities. This is what we're fighting. They can rebuild themselves from battle damage in real time. They can adapt their weapons mid-combat to counter any defense. And they never retreat because they literally cannot comprehend the concept of defeat. The demonstration showed coalition ships being systematically destroyed by Devourer forces that seemed to learn from every attack. The alien delegates watched in horror as entire fleets were consumed and converted into new enemy units. Commander Foster had been studying the tactical data since arriving at the Sovereign. Admiral Sullivan, you mentioned that Earth has other fleets. What's the total human military capability? Admiral Sullivan exchanged glances with Aria, who appeared as a holographic avatar for the council meeting. Commander Foster, the deep-range fleet represents approximately 30% of Earth's actual military capacity. The other 70% has been focused on technological development and strategic manufacturing. The implications hit everyone in the chamber simultaneously. If the Sovereign and its sister ships were only a portion of human military strength, then Earth possessed the largest and most advanced fleet in galactic history. Speaker Harding's voice carried new respect. Admiral Sullivan, what does Earth require from the Coalition? Integration of command structures, sharing of intelligence resources, and agreement to follow human tactical doctrine during the coming war. We've been fighting Devourers for over a century. We know their weaknesses and how to exploit them. Dr. Rodriguez raised her hand. What about civilian populations? Can they be protected? Evacuation protocols are already being prepared, Colonel Turner replied. Core worlds can be defended, but outer rim systems will need to be abandoned temporarily. We're talking about the largest population movement in galactic history. Council Member Kim looked around the chamber. This is asking every species to place their survival in human hands. How do we know you won't use this crisis to establish human dominance over the galaxy? Admiral Sullivan's response was calm but firm. Because, Council Member Kim, if we fail to stop the Devourers, there won't be a galaxy left to dominate. This isn't about politics or power. This is about survival. The vote was close, but the Coalition agreed to integrated military command under human direction. As the delegates filed out of the chamber, many looked shaken by the realization that their primitive human allies were actually the galaxy's most powerful military force. Admiral Hayes approached Admiral Sullivan as the chamber emptied. When do we begin preparations? Admiral Sullivan checked her personal communicator. The first deep-range fleet reinforcements arrive tomorrow. The real work begins then. Commander Foster looked out through the chamber's massive windows at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, an enemy that had consumed countless civilizations was preparing to destroy everything they knew. But for the first time since learning about the Devourer threat, he felt a glimmer of hope. Humanity had been preparing for this war longer than anyone realized, and they weren't going to face it alone anymore. The space around Coalition Central Command had been transformed into the largest military gathering in galactic history. Ships from dozens of species hung in formation beside the massive vessels of Earth's revealed deep-range fleet. Admiral Lisa Hayes stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching as the UES Titan, humanity's largest vessel, took position at the center of the combined armada. Fleet Commander Greg Phillips had arrived with the main human battle group 3 days earlier. His ship alone was larger than most Coalition space stations, and it carried weapons that could crack moons. Dr. Rodriguez had spent every waking hour studying the technical specifications, still struggling to understand how humanity had achieved such advancement in secret. "Admiral Hayes," Commander Danny Foster called from the tactical station, "we're receiving the final positioning orders from Admiral Sullivan. All Coalition vessels are to form defensive screens around the human primary ships." It was a stark reminder of the technological gap. Coalition ships, even with human upgrades, were barely capable of surviving in direct combat with Devourer forces. Their role would be support and cleanup while Earth's war machines did the heavy fighting. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, now serving as liaison between Coalition and human forces, monitored communications from his position on the bridge. "Admiral, the outer sensor grid is reporting multiple contacts approaching from galactic rim sectors. The Devourers are beginning their advance." Admiral Hayes activated the fleet communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Hayes. Prepare for combat operations. Remember your training and trust in your human allies. We're fighting for the survival of every civilization in the galaxy." The response came from thousands of ships representing dozens of species. Captain Burke's voice joined the chorus from his position aboard the Explorer, which had been converted into a mobile research platform. "Coalition forces acknowledge. Ready to engage." On the UES Titan, Fleet Commander Phillips coordinated with Admiral Sullivan aboard the Sovereign. The human battle plan was unlike anything Coalition forces had ever seen. Instead of traditional battle lines, human ships were positioned to create overlapping fields of fire that could adapt to enemy movements in real time. Chief, Engineer Ben Carter had worked around the clock to integrate Coalition vessels into the human tactical network. "All ships now have access to AREA's tactical coordination system," he reported. "Coalition captains will receive targeting information and movement orders directly from the AI." AREA's voice filled the communication channels of every ship in the fleet. "All vessels, this is AREA. Devourer Vanguard forces are now entering sensor range. Estimated arrival time at defensive perimeter, 47 minutes. Dr. Rodriguez watched from the Explorer's science station as her sensors detected the approaching enemy. The readings were terrifying. Hundreds of massive ships, each one larger than anything in the Coalition fleet, were advancing in perfect formation. Weapons specialist Amy Walsh provided tactical analysis from her position aboard the Sovereign. "Coalition forces, be advised that Devourer units will attempt to analyze your weapons during the first exchange. Do not repeat attack patterns. Human vessels will handle primary engagement." The first contact came exactly when Aria predicted. Devourer scouts, sleek ships that moved with unnatural precision, appeared at the edge of the defensive perimeter. They immediately began scanning Coalition positions, their sensors probing for weaknesses. "All human vessels," Admiral Sullivan ordered, "engage on my mark." Coalition ships maintained defensive positions until ordered otherwise. The opening salvo from the deep-range fleet was unlike anything anyone had ever witnessed. Beams of energy that seemed to bend space itself lanced out from human ships, striking Devourer scouts with incredible precision. Several enemy vessels simply vanished, their matter converted to energy by weapons that operated beyond known physics. But the Devourers adapted quickly. The second wave of scouts survived the same attacks that had destroyed the first, their hulls somehow modified to resist the human weapons. Colonel Alex Turner coordinated the human response from the Titan's tactical center. "All vessels switch to alternating frequency weapons. Do not allow the enemy time to analyze attack patterns." The battle quickly became a deadly dance of adaptation and counter-adaptation. Devourer forces would modify their defenses against human weapons, only to face completely different attack methods moments later. Human ships phased in and out of normal space, appearing to attack from impossible angles before vanishing again. Commander Foster watched in amazement as Coalition ships, following Aria's coordination, began achieving success against Devourer units. The human tactical network allowed Coalition captains to strike at exactly the right moments with precisely the right weapons. "This is Captain Burke," came a voice over the communication system. "Explorer has successfully disabled a Devourer scout using coordinated phase weapons. Human integration systems are working perfectly, but the enemy kept coming. For every Devourer unit destroyed, 2 more appeared from the darkness between stars. The main invasion force was massive beyond anything the deep-range fleet had faced during their century of border conflicts. Lieutenant Commander Morrison monitored the overall battle from his position. "Admiral Hayes, we're receiving reports from Outer Rim sectors. Devourer forces are bypassing our main defensive line and attacking undefended systems." It was exactly what Admiral Sullivan had feared. The enemy wasn't just trying to defeat their fleet, they were beginning the systematic consumption of the galaxy's inhabited worlds. "Admiral Sullivan," Admiral Hayes called over the tactical network, "we need to divide our forces to protect civilian populations." "Negative," Admiral Sullivan replied firmly. "If we split our fleet, the Devourers will defeat us in detail. We hold this line no matter what." The decision was brutal but necessary. Outer Rim colonies would be sacrificed to preserve the core worlds and maintain fleet integrity. It was the kind of choice that only a commander with over a century of war experience could make. As the battle raged on, something unexpected happened. Coalition crews working within the human tactical network began developing new techniques for fighting Devourers. Their different approaches to warfare, combined with human technology, created attack methods that even the adaptable enemy couldn't counter immediately. Dr. Rodriguez made a crucial observation from the Explorer. "Admiral Sullivan, I'm detecting something interesting. When Coalition and human ships coordinate attacks, the Devourers seem to have trouble adapting. Their systems are designed to counter human tactics, not hybrid approaches." Fleet Commander Phillips seized on this insight. "All vessels begin integrated attack patterns. Coalition ships initiate attacks. Human vessels provide support and finishing strikes." The new tactics worked. Devourer adaptation systems, designed to counter specific military doctrines, couldn't keep up with the combined approaches of multiple species working together under human coordination. After 18 hours of continuous battle, the Devourer vanguard began to retreat. It was the first time in recorded history that the enemy had withdrawn from a major engagement. Admiral Hayes looked around her bridge at the exhausted but victorious crew. "Status report?" Commander Foster checked his displays. "Coalition losses are at 12%. Human casualties are minimal. Enemy losses estimated at 60% of their vanguard force." Admiral Sullivan's voice came over the communication system, addressing the entire fleet. "All vessels, this is Admiral Sullivan. Today we proved that the galaxy can stand against the Devourer threat. But this was only the first battle. The real war begins now." As the combined fleet began recovery operations, Lieutenant Commander Morrison realized something profound had changed. The Coalition had entered the battle as separate species relying on human protection. They emerged as partners in a true galactic alliance. The Devourers were still out there, regrouping and adapting. But for the first time in over a century, humanity wasn't fighting alone. The galaxy had awakened to the threat, and together they just might have a chance to survive. The secret war had become everyone's war, and the real test of galactic civilization was just beginning.